Hey, my name is ShawNshawN. I sell art at ShawNshawN.co. Today we're going to review The Contractor. So this is a film by Tarik Saleh. Time is an hour and 43 minutes, so very tightly cut. So I really like that timing, around an hour and a half. So this film really sticks to it. Actors are Chris Pine plays James and Ranger. Gillian Jacobs plays Brianne, his wife. Sandra Thomas plays Jack, I think his kid. Brianne Lafontaine plays Captain, the colleague of James. Keifer Sutherland plays Dusty, this outsider contractor. So this Army Ranger, he gets kicked out of the Army because he's using medicine to really kill the pain in his knee. And I guess it's illegal to do that, staying in the Rangers, to treat yourself that way. And so he's kicked out by this new CO who says, I can't take any. He takes a real hard line on drug use, even though this guy's just taking all the pain. He's been on 4 tours in Afghanistan and Iraq. So he's really paid into his country. Now, the Army's just kicking him out, throwing him to the road. The Ranger, he has to pay his bills. He doesn't know what to do. And so he's like, okay, I'll take this contractor job. And the contractor says, I'm going to pay you $50K. So it's like, oh, wow, he's really out of all his medical bill. He's going to catch up on that. And then maybe they make more, $350 coming out of it. So it looks like a really good job. So they get sent to Germany. And instead of kind of high-end protection, it's actually watched closely this researcher who's developing some kind of virus. And they think it's for a terrorist action. So they're like, oh my God, we got to take this guy out, take out his research. So they pull off the job pretty well. And as they're leaving, the police surround them. And they're like, oh shit, what do we do? They have to have a shootout with the police. They kill off the first police squad. One of them's hit. And they're about ready to get out. And then another police van shows up. Another couple people get hit. So now there's only 2 people left. They make it out, go through these kind of sewer system in a river, hide out in the sewers for a while. One guy saves his friend, the captain, because they've been in several tours together. He's like, you go ahead. Here's the laptop. Get out of here. I'll come back when I can. And they say, okay, we'll meet at this particular hotel. And so he finally kind of patches himself up. He's got a busted knee, obviously. He swims out, gets to the hotel safely. The hotel's paid for. He's like, here's a safe house. Call these guys up. So they call these guys up, and all of a sudden, it doesn't seem to be what it appears to be. He gets really suspicious, and all of a sudden there's a shootout, and he's like being chased by these guys, right? So he's like, oh, this is a double cross, right? So he takes him through the sewer system, kind of escapes. He finds kind of the lead, another safe house, but in the meantime, he gets the second document of the virus from the doctor's wife. She gives it to him because he's, at gunpoint basically, and she has her kid with him. So he's like, nothing's going to happen. Just give me this thing. And she's like, that's our whole life savings. That's all the money we're ever going to make is off this thing you're stealing from us. But he doesn't care. It's all about him and his family. So it's really interesting kind of play off each family against each other. But yeah, I thought it was a pretty interesting story. I think it was really good actors, good acting, really captured the sense of the duty and loyalty of these Rangers to their country and their fellow soldiers. And then when they get kicked out, it's like this bitter betrayal and they kind of die this bitterness. Chris Pine's character, he had his father growing up, and his father was a Ranger and then left the whole family at the end, and he never knew why his father just left, the whole family, and he swore he'd never ever do that to his own family. Now he's in this scenario where he's being hunted down by his own team, and so he doesn't know where to turn, and he has the feeling like he's going to have to give up and not see his family at all. He's able to make it back to America, so that's good. Confronts his friend. And he's like, hey, you got to disappear. This guy's going to come and kill you. And he's like, no, that's not an option. I cannot forsake my family. I have to go and kill this guy. So that kind of leads to the final scene of the movie, which I thought was kind of cool. The dirty military contractor is played by Keifer Sutherland, who's obviously a great actor. He didn't have too much in the movie, just a couple bit cameos really in the movie, but he plays like the overall villain, as well as them playing their own anti-hero kind of villains, falling for this spiel that takes out this researcher who turns out to be an innocent researcher. He doesn't really turn to be a viral terrorist. So it's kind of an interesting thing of, this guy being funded by Islamic people in maybe Kuwait or Qatar or something. And so that's why they suspected they're funding terrorism, but he's actually just funding research, apparently. So, it's a double cross just to get this recipe for saving lives versus an actual real terrorist. So that's horrible because they killed this person for no reason, destroyed his family, and the whole spiel. And, this guy's going to have to live with it, obviously. I mean, before he's obviously been a soldier fighting in combat, but he was kind of fighting soldier on soldier. So now he has to face this really moral dilemma that he's been presented. I really like the sense of having the two families battle each other out. You know, the ranger is desperate for money. His friend is desperate for money to fix his house and fix his kids has really serious medical conditions. Obviously, neither of them can pay for it except doing some kind of army contractor work. So they're really desperate. And his contractor comes through, and then it turns out to be his double cross. So really interesting motivation, and it's all these three families against each other in a way. They had this really funny scene. They used some graffiti in the film. First they have graffiti on the van, and later they have graffiti on top of the parking lot. The van graffiti looks horrible. It's obviously done by non-artists. People are just really like, hey, we'll just use some of the guys on set and give them a couple spray paint cans, let them do whatever they want and pretend they're graffiti artists. It's horrible, right? Because you see real graffiti artists, it can be really good. So it's like, why would they use fake graffiti? On the van, it may be possible because this, the CIA or their agents, they wouldn't be that clever and use real graffiti artists. But then at the top of the parking garage, if it was graffiti artists, you should have used real graffiti artists. So it's like, just pay a couple $1,000. Really, why would you cheap out on that and have this really cornball graffiti? I mean, the only people that really care about it probably are other artists, but still, it's kind of like you put a solid film together and you have this really cheesy, bad graffiti at the top of the garage. Doesn't make any sense. They don't really tag that way on a parking lot garage. They would tag it, but not in the way they was tagged. Obviously, total amateur hour. They just tagged it at the last second for the movie set to make it more grim, whatever. But it didn't really have a good connection there, why that part was tagged. A subway car would have made way more sense, so kind of off on this use of graffiti within this film. I like it was set in Germany. I think that gives it a really good, scary sense for people that haven't traveled outside of the U.S. They're going to be like, oh my God, this is a foreign country. You could be taken out at any moment. You have to be really smart and clever and da-da-da-da, no language. And most people don't know languages, right? So, I mean, I know 3 languages kind of. So, to me, it's not as impressive. But I think I can see the reaction people would have behind going to Europe and all that. It would be super cool. So, I think I like the set a lot, especially combining this American team with a German team. So, it's like this dirty operation behind the scenes. And then it turns out to be a double cross. So, I really like the idea of that film. I think it was pretty good. Sets-wise, it was pretty good too. Yeah, I think it was a pretty decent film. It's a one-watch film. I don't think I collect it, but I'd rate it good. If you guys like to subscribe, you can subscribe below. And I'll see you in the next movie review. Thanks for watching, guys.